Hi, welcome to SBR Sports Picks. My name is Peter Loshak. Today is Friday afternoon, September 29th. It's week 4 in the NFL, and this is the Into the Weekend with BetDSI show for NFL week 4. Of course, this is the show where we talk with Brent, the headlines manager at DSI Sportsbook, about the notable betting action that he's taken over the week. It's been a kind of a wacky, quirky year in the NFL, Brent. Of course, early on, there were a lot of unders, which was a little bit surprising. And then last week, a whole lot of underdogs, a whole lot of upsets in general. I know that a lot of people in contests were had bad weeks last week. So a lot of contest guys who started out kind of hot suddenly had bad weeks last week. I'm assuming it was a good week for the book, though.
Well, you could assume it was much better than a good week. Yeah.
Yes.
No, I mean, the way things played out too was really good for us. I mean, it started with the early game over in London with Baltimore and Jacksonville. We were one-sided on Baltimore, so Jacksonville just crushed them. So again, you're talking about teasers and stuff that get beat up. Cleveland, Indianapolis, obviously, just because those two teams wasn't a big deal. The Bears was a good result, beating Pittsburgh, of course. People didn't expect the Jets to win the game all season long, and then they beat Miami, and they beat them quite handily. Denver was a big decision for us, having Buffalo get the home win there. The fact that Houston covered at New England, that was good for us as well. I mean, New Orleans, we did talk about New Orleans being a sharp play, and that, in the end worked out for us as well, because we had pretty much split action on that game as well. Tampa Bay, I mean, this goes on, right? Tampa Bay at Minnesota, yeah. Even Tampa Bay, I had a whole lot of money on Tampa Bay as well. And then the thing too is, because the results were so good for us throughout the day, is, you came down to that Sunday night game, and we had already talked about on the previous show that the sharp side was Washington. And it's this line had gone down all week long because of the sharp action that did come on in Washington. They were at home to Oakland on Sunday night. And as you saw, like by game day, that line was back up to 3.5 and even touched on 4 in some places. And it was like, if you could sit back and say, what's going on? And it was like everyone who had lost money all week long was trying to get out with this one game. And they were thinking, well, who are you going to bet? Well, let's bet the team who's supposed to win. That must be the favorite. So the public was just crushing Oakland. And obviously they got crushed as well.
Really? So the public was huge on Oakland, and that was so big that it actually drove the number up, and they lost. So the public can drive the numbers significantly when you have a situation like that.
The thing too, you have to figure, like we talked about when we did the show, the sharps had already kind of played their hand. They were betting Washington, and they, these guys are professionals. This is their job. They do this for a living. So, if they like a game, and just throw out a number, say their bankroll on a game is a max of 50,000 and they get their 50 on that game. I mean, if the line keeps going up, if they took it at plus 3.5 and the line goes up to 4, they're not going to bet more on Washington,
right?
Because they manage their money. So it was kind of a case where they played what they were going to play, and the line just kept going up because the public was going to reach in and fire and get back even for the week.
Yep, there you go. So sometimes those late line moves close to kickoff, especially in the NFL, I guess, are not indicative of sharp action by any means, right?
Yeah, I mean, it is tough. I mean, because sometimes it is, it's really tough to say. But you can't just say, blindly that anything that comes in that close to kickoff is not sharp, because obviously the sharps do play. But yeah, when you see a line like that, you can kind of be suspicious of what's driving that number back. And obviously in this case, it wasn't sharp money at all. The sharps had played Washington, and it was a very good result for us in the end.
All right, Brent, that's how the NFL season goes. Some weeks you get killed, and people wonder how you stay in business. Well, weeks like last week is when you make it all back. All right, so let's talk about 3 interesting games in the NFL this week. Of course, the Steelers-Ravens. Very interesting game. The Steelers, as you mentioned, off a big upset loss last week, and the Ravens coming off a huge, embarrassing loss in London. So now they meet here in week 4. Obviously, a big rivalry game. Usually, these are very close, competitive games, but this game is close to pick 'em. I did see the line open at about 2.5, so now it's about 3. So some money at some point early came in on the Steelers. I'm wondering if the sharps are on this one at all, and I'm assuming the public's on the Steelers.
Yeah, it's pretty much, at least from my end, it's public money so far on Pittsburgh. I don't have any sharps involved on the side at all in this one, but we are up to like -3, -120 on Pittsburgh, and it's just the perception too of like who's the better team, and you just figure Pittsburgh is the better team, despite what happened last week. I talk about often that no team is as good or as bad as their best or worst performance. And I mean, Baltimore was just awful last week, and Pittsburgh obviously losing the way they did was not very impressive either. So they just got run over in the second half. So it's going to be a very interesting game. And I think too, if you look back in terms of like Pittsburgh's I was going to say success on the road at Baltimore, which would be a lack of success. I mean, I think they've had a terrible time at Baltimore. Yeah. I know, I talk about Roethlisberger's splits on the home and road over the years, and he's just not the same guy at home as he is on the road. So, if this number ticks back down, I think that's going to be sharp money that drives it, because the public has shown that I've got a wager count of almost 2-1 favoring the Steelers. So the public has shown that they're going to be betting Pittsburgh, which again doesn't surprise me at all. But my feeling is that if you see this number come down, it's going to be sharp money that does drive that back on the home dog. And obviously, inter-division game and a home dog, sharp guys look for those spots all the time. I do have sharp money on this game, and that comes in on the total, though. Kind of a trend here, betting these Baltimore or Pittsburgh totals under. It seems to be every week one of those teams is being played under by the sharps. This line did open at 45. I didn't open it up until 44.5. I got actually a sharp bet on the under 44, and we're 42 right now. So I don't have a sharp action on the side, just pretty much public money so far, but I do have sharp action on the under 44.
Wow. Okay. And then let's talk about the next Pats game coming up on the docket. Of course, since we started doing this show all those years ago, every year and every week, you tell us that pretty much you always need the Pats to lose ATS, because the public loves to bet the Pats. Last week, public got burned. The Pats are now 1-2 ATS on the year. I know that the Panthers also had an even worse game last week than the Pats did in terms of their ATS results. So I guess I would assume that once again, public is all over the Pats. But based on the line move that we've seen, I doubt you're going to tell us there's any sharp action on the Panthers. Line opened 8.5, small move up to 9. So I assume that's all public money, and then no sharp action either way.
Yeah, exactly. My wager counts, 3-1 favoring New England, which is no surprise at all. The total again has crept on the over as well, and I'm going to call pseudo sharp action on the over there. Not a list guy, per se, and two, I just kind of get the feeling that this number might get bet back down. Carolina's, they typically had a decent defense. And, you look at the performance so far this season from Newton. He hasn't been that great. He lost his tight end. His receivers are falling apart. It's just one of those games where it looks like a spot where, it might stay under and go back down. So just something kind of look out for to see if this number does go back down. It did open at 47. We're up to 49.5. So I just have a feeling that maybe the Sharps might come back on the under on that one. I'm not saying they're going to, but who knows? I mean, Carolina, they've played 3 games so far. They've allowed 40 points, but they've only put up 45. So, that's not overly impressive in terms of what they've been able to do on offense. And, New England's been the opposite. They've scored almost 100 points in 3 games, and they've given up almost 100 points in 3 games. So it's going to be interesting to see how this one plays out. Again, I do have like pseudo sharp action on the over 47. It is at 49.5 right now. But again, my wager count is about 3-1 favoring the over as well. 3-1 favoring the Patriots on the side as well. So, I mean, I could tell you every week that New England and the over is never a good result for us. So I'm hoping this comes back down.
Yeah, right. Okay, and now let's talk about the Raiders game. Of course, the public got crushed betting Oakland last week, and this week they're on the road against the Broncos, who also lost straight up and ATS. So I don't know, is the public going to favor the Raiders once again here on the road, this time as an underdog? I don't know about that. Some money did come in early on the Broncos from somewhere, though, because it opened about 2.5. Now it's up to 3. What can you tell us about betting action about the Broncos-Raiders game?
Yeah, some money from somewhere. I mean, yeah, these 2 teams do seem pretty much even on paper. I mean, if you took them to the neutral site, would this game be a pick 'em? Like, yeah, it probably would. So, I mean, the line's pretty much right now. I see the home field, I think, for Denver, it is -3, -120. And I actually do have twice as many bets on Denver. So, if you're going to say which way the public's going, maybe they're a little bit salty from what happened last week. It's like, I'm not going to bet them again. But then again, if you bet Denver last week, you're a little salty as well. So,
right.
2 that are both sitting here at 2-1, both off a loss last week, kind of like the Pittsburgh-Baltimore situation. So yeah, I mean, this is definitely an interesting game to see how these 2 teams play out. And it's kind of, it's that time of year we kind of figure out who these teams are. But like I said, I do have twice as many bets on Denver right now. I don't have any sharp action involved so far. Interesting, I've got like more under money, which is kind of like a surprise. I usually get, usually have no problem getting public guys betting the over, but I do have under money, almost like 3-1 in terms of my wager count right now. And you see this total has kind of ticked down from the 47 to 46 where we are right now. But I've got, I've got decent action so far on this one. My money is about 2-1, which kind of reflects the wager count as well, but I don't have any sharp action on that one.
All right. So as of right now, the only sharp action we know about is the under in the Baltimore game. We'll see how the public winds up doing with their betting this week on pretty much the usual suspects from all previous weeks. What can you tell us about a notable sharp action from NFL Week 4, Brent?
Well, Miami, hopefully they're not as bad as they looked last week, but I do have sharp action that suggests otherwise. Sharp action on New Orleans -2. Now, this line has gone all the way up to 3. Earlier today, we were 3 -120 or 3 -115. I'm 3 -125 right now. Starting to get to that range where you're almost going to touch, 3.5. But taking early action at -2 from a sharp and a max bet, you really don't want to go there, and you really want to hold on to the 3. So that's kind of what we're doing right now, sitting at 3 -125. But I do have sharp action that came in on New Orleans, so my money is quite one-sided that way. And again, my wager count probably is like 3-1 favoring New Orleans as well. So the public perhaps wants nothing to do with Miami in this spot, and the sharps have already tipped their hand. So I've got a wager count 3-1, and my money is almost like 4-1 favoring the Saints as well. So that's the first one. That is another one of those England games. So you'd be up nice and early in the morning for that one. Another game for you. I gotta keep remembering, like, the LA Rams, the LA Chargers. I gotta keep repeating that to myself. This time it's the LA Rams, and this is, I'm kind of looking forward to this because it's one of those spots where the public's going to be on Dallas, and they are. And when the sharps are on the dog, you really like that spot. Now, this line has really dropped quite a bit. Where Dallas is like a 6-point favorite, maybe 6 -115, pretty much across the board. The total has ticked up a little bit to 48.5, but the sharp action came in on the LA Rams +7.5. So, it's a nice grab for them getting that number plus the 7.5. I mean, this is, what makes sharps the sharps, I guess. I mean, they laid New Orleans -2 and the line's 3 -1/4 right now. They took the Rams +7.5, pardon me, and the line's down to 6 -15 right now. So some pretty big moves on those games. And again, my wager count, as you expect, 3-1 favoring Dallas right now. So, I mean, the public is going to be betting Dallas, no surprise at all. I do have a wager count of almost 4-1 actually favoring the over, which again is no surprise. I don't have any sharp money per se on the total, just the sharp money on the side, and that was the Rams. Cincinnati and Cleveland. Wow. It's just like someone's got to win this game. So, I guess someone's got to win this game. I guess in theory, no one has to win the game. It could end up in a tie, but I do, in this barn burner of a game, I do have sharp money on the over. Now, over 40 is where that came in. We're at 41.5 right now, but over 40 is where the sharp action came on that game. My side is, I'm pretty much even in terms of my wager count is quite close. My money slightly favors Cincinnati, which is really no surprise. I mean, they kind of showed a little bit of life after replacing their offensive coordinator last week in Green Bay. They put up some points finally for the first time all season. So maybe that's the trend that the sharps are going with as well in terms of betting the over, but they are on the over 40. That's Cincinnati at Cleveland. We talked about the Pittsburgh and Baltimore total, the under 44. Another side for you is the sharps on the Giants at Tampa Bay. Giants got to win a game soon, so why not this week? 0-3 Giants on the road, but +3.5. And again, talk about the sharps and the line moves. Right now, Tampa Bay is -3, dog 15. So that's quite a substantial move when you've gone down from 3.5 -110 down to 3, dog 15. So that's a big move there. Giants +3.5. Those were the sharps came in on that game. They are on the road at Tampa Bay. Interesting enough, perhaps, is that my wager count favors them as well. So I've got a wager count almost 3-1 favoring the Giants in this game, and my money's 3-1 as well. So pretty much all one-sided in that game. And last but not least, I'm going to repeat Los Angeles, and that would be the Los Angeles Chargers. Chargers, again, got to win the game. Well, maybe they do. We'll find out this weekend if they got to win or not. But the sharps have played the LA Chargers at home. They're at home to Philadelphia this week. And sharp guys being who they are, they came out at a pick. Yesterday, this line was -1. Today, we're talking on Friday. The line is -2, -15, or 2.5 across the board. So 2.5, 2-point move from the Chargers at pick. And like I said, they're at home to Philadelphia. So LA Chargers, LA Rams, New Orleans, the Cincinnati Cleveland over, Pittsburgh, Baltimore under 44, and the Giants. There's your sharp stuff for the week, Peter.
All right. The sharps really loving the Saints in general. Seems like you're telling us that you're getting sharp action on the Saints every week. Brent, of course, comes from BetDSI Sportsbook. DSI Sportsbook. Brent, thanks so much. We'll talk to you again next week for NFL Week 5.
Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to our channel. Now we've put a lot of work into producing all these free videos, so please help us out and keep all our content free for you forever by simply liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. Now, not to mention, a visit to our industry-leading website will warm the hearts of all our SBR employees, especially myself. Now, the links are over there to the left, so do check those out. Thanks for watching.